when I see that the media is not, the mainstream media in America is not sticking up for Julian Assange, when I see people who call themselves on the left not sticking up for Julian Assange, there's no more evidence of how crazy everybody is than the fact that Trump, who I'm not a fan of, is talking about pulling out of Syria, ending war, bringing 2,000 soldiers home, and people on the left are going nuts. And it's like, I'm like, I look at Medea Benjamin, who's great, and she's saying, you know, Code Pink is in favor of no war. And yet CNN and MSNBC are like, they're red baiting Trump. It's the craziest thing I've seen. People in Hollywood, like so-called Hollywood lefties, are mocking him for, like, I'm not a fan of Trump, but I'm more not a fan of war than that. And it's like, I think as like Medea Benjamin said on her Twitter feed, she said, talking with, she said, perhaps this is the time to see which groups put peace over partisan politics, because she's like, Code Pink is absolutely in favor of pulling out of Syria. And I've seen prominent Syrian people saying, you know, we've been out, Russia has been in Syria since the 70s, the United States hasn't. They, you know, and whatever Trump's real reasons are, I don't know, it's crazy. But the fact that we're in this sort of surrealistic, upside down world where, I mean, like, I've said this before, but it would be as though if imagine if in the 70s Hollywood liberals, you know, went after Jane Fonda and stuff like that. Like, it's just, we're in crazy times. And you know, it's called, I heard somebody coin the, I don't know if they coined the phrase, but one of the writers on the Black Agenda report said it's called Trump derangement syndrome. They just, anything, they just are going crazy. They can't handle. And there's a lot of stuff he's doing that I absolutely do not like and I'm not in favor of. But it's something Julian Assange has pointed out time and time again through WikiLeaks is all of the reasons America wants war and goes for war and war for profit. And here we are finally pulling out of a war, and or talking about it at least, and people are going nuts on the left. It's mind-boggling to me.
You know, Rachel Maddow of MSNBC, I saw someone tweet this, I don't watch it, but apparently she said that the families of these troops are going to suffer when their soldiers come home, that they're going to be distraught by this. Can you imagine? That is the essence of insanity right there.
I saw that tweet. That is mind-boggling. So it's, if that's not American rich person privilege, she makes $7 million a year, who cares, in her mind, I guess, what is happening in Syria, what the American empire seems to be doing? I mean, why isn't she talking about the two competing pipelines? That's what this is really about. That's mad. It's madness. And she's this liberal hero. It's madness to me. Like, there's no anti-war movement coming out of from people who call themselves liberals. I'm mystified.
We've been involved in it for a couple of years now, and it's gotten worse and worse.
It's like, because America's been at war for the last 17 years, people just go, oh, I guess, you know, we've been so fed that we're just a war culture now, and we don't even realize it. Like,
yeah. It's like war is continuously going, like in Orwell's 1984. There was always a war going on in the background and nobody was paying attention to it. And that's exactly what we've got now. And on the domestic side, there was Greg Palast has done such great work showing how Republicans have used various tactics to suppress Democratic and specifically African-American votes. So I've never seen that in the New York Times, not in any great way. But there was a headline the other day based on the Senate intelligence report that African-American Democratic votes are being suppressed. Not by our Republicans, or Russians. So anything, yes, Ray, jump in there. The Russians are suppressing that vote, not the Republicans. It's ridiculous. Ray.
No, I'm going to hold my peace until the very end. I have one suggestion. Well, maybe I'll just say it now. The good news of this week with Pilger and the two Bundestag, the parliamentarians, we should not relax. This could be kind of a part of a deceptive thing where everybody's kind of lulled into the fact that, oh, wow, Julian's not in such pressure anymore. Well, he is. And it's just as bad as it was last week, in my view. So I think we have to be really careful and find out, I don't know, why was it that these people were allowed in, and how many other people could come from France or from Spain or from Italy or from anywhere. Keep the pressure on rather than say, oh, isn't it great these two guys got in and that John Pilger was able to report. That is good news, but let's not lull us into, as we say, a false sense of complacency.
Well, I totally agree with that.
That's a
Suzie.
Good point.
Yeah, go on. If Suzie is available, I want Suzie to end the show. We've got exactly 7 minutes left.
I didn't want to cut into Graham's part here.
Well, Graham, if you have another word, unless Suzie needs the full 7 minutes.
You know, I'll just, you know, I'll just add this to Ray. You know, Ray's bringing up a great point of, you know, I'm always leery when the media is clamoring about something. What are they trying to distract us from? Are they trying to distract us, or are they trying to distract us from what's going on with Julian? What are they trying to distract us from? Because I just never trust anytime they're, oh, you know, there's always some thing that chews up the 24-hour news cycle, and usually something else is being passed. Some law or thing is taken away, or a tax break for billionaires, or another war or something. So that would just be my question, to kind of add to what Ray's saying about let's not get distracted.
Totally agree. Suzie, you have the floor to end the show.
Thanks. Hopefully I won't need the entire 7 minutes and you guys will get to say something, but I want to talk briefly about Uni4J, where it's at right now, because we are entering a new phase. I agree with Joe, with Ray, and with John Kiriakou that we can't be complacent. I think hearing what I did from Pilger tonight was quite eye-opening for me. Pilger was very clear about and reminding us about the serious health risks to Julian, the serious physical risks to Julian, and I take that very, very sincerely. So we must still have the sense of urgency, but there is also, I believe it's important to acknowledge where we started, where we've been, as well as where we're at. And I think it's particularly encouraging for people to have tangible signs that their efforts are resulting in something. I've said all along that this movement couldn't be called successful unless Julian was freed. That was the single and ultimate measure of success of this movement. And we have not achieved that yet, so I cannot yet call this movement a success. But what I can tell you is that we have clocked 350 million social media impressions, which is more than any movement I've ever worked on or ever even heard of. We have built a massive international following. We have not just established but also maintained credibility over the long haul. We have had increasing numbers of very, very high-profile, established, credible people like ex-US Senator Mike Gravel last week, Dan Ellsberg repeatedly volunteering to come on. You know, I think 3 times we've had him on now. These are indicators of a strong and credible and successful movement. And everybody who helped to make that happen, every single person who ever contributed in any way to this movement does deserve a pat on the back for getting us to this point. And I want to be really clear about that. There are dozens of unsung heroes behind every stream and event that we put together. I could not have done a single thing I've done this year without the support of all of those people. The 70-something, 80 participants that we've had fronting the vigils, particularly Joe Lauria and Consortium, who have stepped up and put their full weight behind it, which is an incredibly honourable thing to do and for which I'm really, really grateful. Now, when I say that Uni4J is moving into a new phase, it's very important that this movement continues to evolve. And one of the things I can tell you that WikiLeaks has deeply appreciated about this movement is our ability to innovate. We have never stagnated. We have always come up with something new, added in something else to the mix, and kept moving and kept moving forward and kept building, to the extent that those few critics, and there really are very few in number, that this movement has had, have not been able to touch us. in terms of our progress. Our progress has not at all been inhibited by any criticism. There has been hundreds of positive messages in support of this movement for every one critical message. And that means that we have the endorsement, not just of all these wonderful high-profile people, but of the public at large. And that is a precious and incredible thing. Now, I don't think she'll mind you telling me that I was having a chat with Julian Assange recently. She has been she's a huge personal hero of mine, but she's also very, very wise and imparts much wisdom onto me. And one of the things that she said, I was talking to her about the targeting of activists, because we should acknowledge openly that a number of people involved with Unity for J, people who are in critical positions within the organisation, have experienced some targeting and some pushback as a result, which they would have done also were they engaged in any other mass movement for any other topic. So it's not particularly just because of this one. It's more activism as a whole is in fact targeted by the forces who oppose it, and that's known now across the world. And I was saying to her, how do we support these people? What do we do? And she said that one of the best things that we can learn to do is to give whatever we can and then to pull back when we need to, and to move on to other things and put our attention elsewhere, to allow others to rise in our place and give what they can. And that good, I know this too from my experience in other movements, the best activists, the activists who are able to maintain long activism careers, and by that I don't mean financial at all, I mean careers in terms of their consistent activity for movements and for causes, are the ones who, as we say in activism, practice self-care, looking after themselves physically and their environment, and maintaining stable relationships in their personal lives and stable conditions in their personal lives, knowing when it's time to step back and to let someone else step in. And by doing that, we make moving targets of ourselves. It's a lot harder for the intelligence services to have to, what is that game, you know, the kids game where the like little chipmunks pop up and you have to smack like this one, that one. Whack-a-mole, thank you, whack-a-mole. This is what we have to do within the movement. We have to be the little moles in whack-a-mole. We stick our head up, we do something amazing, and then we pull back and we let someone else stick their head up and do something amazing. So many things have all come to a head, both in Unity for J in a positive way, and also for myself personally. So for the first time, I find myself in a position to be able to do something about the negative experiences that I've had being a target over the last 6 years. And that's a very unique situation for me, that I now have avenues in which to do something about that. So, and also now that Unity for J is having impact within the political and diplomatic sphere, it's pretty clear to me that there are very credible, good, hardworking people willing to step up and fill that vacuum when I step back. So I am not going to be doing any more media appearances for the foreseeable future. I'm going to be pursuing health and happiness in my personal life, and moving on to some other important projects which I have commitments to as well outside of the activism sphere. So you will see me continue in journalism in some capacity, but you'll also see me being a lot quieter than I usually am. It doesn't mean I don't support Julian or WikiLeaks. To the contrary, I'm with them to the end, and I will do whatever I can for all of the people who have been a part of this. But I have every confidence that the vigils under Joe Laurier and Consortium will continue to grow and be fantastic and to have an impact. Unity for J, in terms of social media assets and Discord, will continue just as it is now under the management of the 35 or so mods. So I just wanted to take a minute, and I know we're a little bit over time now, but I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everybody. It has been a phenomenal year, and I really do believe we've had impact and made a difference, though our ultimate goal is not yet reached. I think we're closer to that than we were when we began this movement, without any shadow of a doubt. So thank you to everybody who has supported this movement. Thank you to those who will continue to carry it on their shoulders going forward. it's the greatest honor. Really, it's been the greatest honor of my life. Aside from having my beautiful kids, it has been the greatest honor of my life to be a part of this. And I thank you all so much.
Bravo!
Bravo!
Thank
Encore.
you, Suzie. You've done a great job.
Suzie.